isn't here, but we know that it's on its way. But that's not a problem. Tonight I wanted to talk about, discuss two of the essays in the book Clarity. I don't know how far I'm going to get. I don't really care, but we're going to go, we're going to start out with an essay entitled Conspiracy Theory. And then we're going to go to one entitled Uprooted. Again. And just FYI, this is the second class in the Clarity course. So we're going to start with conspiracy theory. When I guess we're visiting Morehouse again, when I was teaching at Morehouse, near the latter part of that time, conspiracy theory had really grown in terms of student interest. Everybody wanted to hear the latest theory, and Steve Coakley came to town a couple times, and you know there was this large discussion. And I was having some issues with it, not with the idea that there are people who are conspiring against us, but with our fixation on these particular individuals. So everybody who came in the presentation, talking about the Bilderbergs and the Kennedys and all the rest of this, and they would go through the life, almost like a Jaylee would go through a family history, and they would detail everything about these individuals, and I couldn't see a distinction between that and the TMZ shows and all the other shows about the celebrities and Europeans this and Europeans that. Everybody was so excited about this. It was very much like a soap. And even though I thought it was important for those who prior to that were not aware or did not think in terms of Europeans conspiring against us, I thought it was important for them, but there are things when it gets to a certain point, you should have enough. You should know enough to do something. You shouldn't need to know all the names. And I would talk about in class how I wasn't concerned, and of course some people were alarmed, but the conspiracy theorists were alarmed at the school. I wasn't, told them I was not concerned about the names of the people. There were two reasons why. First and foremost, this is a nation that is in the position that it is in. These are people in the position that they're in because they know who they are and they act accordingly. They're going to have people who are in charge of doing this. So it doesn't make a difference what the names are. If all of the people who were conspiring today disappeared, tomorrow they will be instantly replaced. So then we go through another thing of another year of talking about their names and who their families were and what they were about and what their favorite food was and all the rest of this. And so I begin to say that the idea of conspiracy, the idea that people are getting together behind your back, figuring out ways to hurt you, to do damage to you, to undermine your progress. I think that's important for us to understand because that's been pretty much our relationship with everybody over time. It's important to understand that. The problem is that it's not an individual thing. It is a cultural conspiracy. And that's what I would say. It is a cultural conspiracy. Not an individual conspiracy, but a cultural conspiracy. So looking at individuals simply undermined that. It kept us from really being focused. And also I looked around and I'm saying, I know all of these people who are conspiracy theorists, and I don't think any of them were really getting rich off of it, but they were, able to make a living, which I have no problem with that. The problem was I looked at a number of them, and I didn't see any of them building anything. They weren't nation building anything. None of them had any schools. There weren't, programs that they were established. They were just talking. They were simply talking. That's all they were doing, is bringing up new this and bringing up new that and trying to assume connections here and draw connections there and draw lines there. The other problem that bothered me was that race was not a factor in their analysis. The analysis, the problem was, it was pretty much a Marxist theory, where they wanted to look at an elite against the rest. It was a class-based analysis. It was not a race-based analysis, not to say the class doesn't have anything to do with it. When we look at Marxist theory, communist theory, European communist theory, when we look at these theories, one of the things that we forget is that, again, Europeans are in power for a reason. Because they understand themselves, they expect those who are in charge to be corrupt. They expect that. That's part of it. If you're not corrupt, something is wrong with you. If you're not stealing, if you're not doing this, you're not doing bad, if you're not exploiting your position as a man who is the president or vice president of such and such a school or such and such a company, if you're not using your position to have as many women on the side as you can, something's wrong with you. That's the assumption. So the idea that you had this exploitative elite who were working against the masses, to me, was problematic, because they expected this. They respected their leaders. They would go, and they expected for some of them to get hurt in the process. Some of them were going to get bowled over. The ones who weren't the strongest, they were going to get stepped on. They were going to get hurt in the process. But in truth and reality, they don't have a problem with the Rockefellers or the Bilderbergs or the Kennedys or the rest of it. They take great pride in that. Any people is going to take pride, and because these people are pursuing their interests. If that was not the case, then it would have been torn down a long time ago. We have to compare us with them. When European children are hungry, then their parents start tearing stuff up. When our children get hungry, we start carrying around picket signs. Okay, they tear stuff up. So if their leaders were not doing the things that they expected them to do, to dominate the planet, to exploit all kinds of other people, to use their fortunes to amass and to pass on that wealth in a highly individualistic fashion down through their family lines, and creating dynasties of their own. Get excited, TV show named Dynasty. This is something that is really important to them. This is a model that they aspire to, and they expect their leaders to reflect that. But the conspiracy theorists would have you thinking that these people right here are extremely distant from these people, and they really hate these people's guts. They see them as tools to be manipulated. They see no connection to them whatsoever. No, these are their people. These are their people. And if you really want to see the difference between how they treat their people and how they treat our people. This is family. This is enemy. Okay? So the things that they will give or bow down to or knuckle under for these people, they're not going to do that for them. Because that's not family. And they're not going to serve these people over these people, because then these people will revolt against them and it's over. That's the end of the discussion. So we have to, that's a major part of the discussion among our conspiracy theorists. They don't talk in terms of them against us, in terms of racial. They talk about them against us in terms of class. And they buy into the same logic that the Marxist theories are putting out. Marxist theorists are putting out. That's very, very important for you to understand. And that's something that they cannot tolerate. So what I'm also, when I'm looking at these conspiracy theorists, I see a lot of white friends. It's got nothing to do with race with them. It's these elite who are exploiting us. And they don't talk. Show me, they don't talk in racial terms. They don't talk in racial terms. If they're going to talk about Africa, it's because of what some elite is doing to people of color or the third world, what have you. Of course, we know there's no such thing as a third world, at least not for us. So we have to be very careful when we're looking at conspiracy theorists. There is, to me, I don't see a revolutionary component to it. Even if you're talking about a communist revolution, if you will, I don't see a revolutionary component to it. It is a discussion. It is a law. It's sort of like, was it Tony? I think it was Tony K. someone made the point that some people live for the fight, for the argument, and without that, their life is non-existent. It's so boring, it's not funny. So they look for this. So I'm looking at this being part of the development of a meaningless argument in our community. Back in the times of the Harlem Renaissance, you had the soapbox where people were trying to educate people. And when someone came up to questions, it was to challenge them on their facts. It wasn't to put myself on the soapbox, it was to correct so that the community would understand the truth. But with what I've seen going on the last 30 years, it's the fight for the fight. So it reminds me of an elementary school, or junior high school too, where you had this group of people who would stand around, fight, 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 fight. They weren't going to get involved, but the whole excitement, they didn't care who won, they didn't care who lost, they just wanted to see a fight. As many of them as they could. And this is what you're having with us. So you have these debates that cause people to do nothing except look for the next debate. And look for the next debate. So there's no action going on. There's no correction going on. There's no building going on. It's sort of based on the model that the revolution is a conversation. And the revolution is not a conversation. And again, I have to qualify that because every time I say this, somebody says, well, you said that we should talk. No, we need to communicate. We can't communicate. We can't build as a community. I don't know any community that doesn't communicate in some way, shape, or fashion. Even if it's sign language, they communicate. So we have to sort of get out of this model. But again, my greatest, and I would say if there's one thing that I want you to leave here with relative to conspiracy theory, in terms of what you look at in your own personal analysis, find a conspiracy theorist or a community or a school of conspiracy theorists who are building something. Show me that. Show me them building something, creating something. Show me one conspiracy theorist in terms of what they're doing that has a direction toward African sovereignty. I don't know of any. And when people became somewhat disinterested in it and the money was no longer flowing, then the conspiracy theory discussions and debates ceased. That you don't find with issues serious like sovereignty. Doesn't make a difference if you have a crowd or if there's two of you. The discussion, the movement still continues. Reform-based. And even to say reform-based revolution may be a misnomer. Because revolution means complete and total change. Reform means that you just try to change what exists into something better. Right. So people who are reform-based, they see America as fine. It's good. It's just got a few things that need to be tweaked. I'm not of that opinion. This is the way it is, what they say. It's the way it is because this is what it's supposed to be. And many of us are so limited in our ability to visualize an African future that we don't think that anything better can be built. Or that we can build anything better. We think that we're stuck with this. So therefore, in our minds, we say this is the best, all we need to do is change it. People who have vision, they, when I was learning how to play chess, one of the guys who I was reading said, you look at the board, the position that you're in, and you see where you want to be. You see where you want to be. And you gear all of your thought and your movement toward being in that position. We don't see where we want to be outside of this. We don't see ourselves in power and control of our own. We can't visualize ourselves as sovereign because this is the best. We think that this is the apex. This is the end or the culmination, the end result of everything that humanity has done is here in this society. This is the best of us as quote-unquote humanity. So our vision can't go past that. We have to work within that framework. Many people with vision can see beyond that. There's no limits. How can you be genius and then you're limited in your thinking? There shouldn't be limitations in your thinking. How can you say, reach for a star? You may fall a little short, but reach for a star. We're not reaching for a star. We're barely reaching for the atmosphere. So this word right here, reform. It's very different than revolution. Conspiracy theorists are about reform. They want to change that elite, either change who they are, or to make that one class thing that Marx talked about, that quote-unquote classless society, where everybody's a worker. And of course, this model is based upon African socialism, but you can't, well, you can't. That's what they did. They took African socialism and tried to put it within a European framework, capitalist framework. And the capitalism is perfect for their personality. Whatever it is, if you have three different national mentalities and all three of them embrace Christianity, then that Christianity is going to take different forms. Because it's going to fit their personality. They're not going to change who they are to fit the religion. They're going to change their religion to fit them. Political order, economic order, family structure, all that going to be changed to fit who they are.